You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Young and the Restless fans, I've got a few juicy spoilers for next week about Diane returning to the mansion and sending Ashley off the deep end. We've also got Thanksgiving at the Newmans that could be a real powder keg and more on Nate, Amy, and this mystery brother. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and let's dive into some good stuff for next week in advance of the full weekly spoilers we will have for you tomorrow. But first, please click subscribe if you're not following us. All right, let's talk about the Abbotts first. They are having a rough week this week, and so it's going to be a mixed bag heading into the Thanksgiving holiday next week. It's unclear if Kyle will hang around the mansion for the holiday, but he has decided not to move out. But that was before he found out his parents, Jack and Diane, had only faked that breakup to trick both him and Victor Newman. And that was to allow Diane to get close enough to Victor to pressure him into giving her glissade so she would fire Kyle at the wedding to publicly humiliate him, which it did. But we know Claire's not with Kyle for Turkey Day, so maybe he'll suck it up and spend it with his parents and see if things can be peaceful. Either that or he'll be sulking around the GCAC. Also still in town is Ashley Abbott, which is a big deal. She's back on an even keel after many, many weeks in a Parisian mental health facility. Tracy Abbott and her live-in lover, Dr. Alan Laurent, are also on hand when Diane shows up at the door. And if you recall, Jack and Diane decided to keep up the ruse until they knew glissade was really hers. So it seems like it's a lock and that Kyle kept their secret. And that means next week, Diane is apparently moving back in and they are publicly killing the ruse and having their reunion on full display. So Ashley is totally gobsmacked to see her supposedly estranged sister-in-law at the mansion, and Tracy's looking a little off-put about it as well. So Ashley demands to know what Diane is doing there, and she asks Jack if he wants her to throw Diane out. It seems both of his sisters are happy to give Diane the old heave-ho if he wants, but Jack shocks them both and says there is no need. He puts his arm around his wife and says Diane's not going anywhere, and she is smiling. So, you know, that has got to be something that Jack is thankful for on the holidays, but his sisters, you know, maybe not so much. Tracy had wanted them to stay together, but then when she saw her conspiring with Victor, you know, she was kind of upset about it. And once she finds out that was a fake conspiracy, I think she'll chill. But big sister, maybe not so much. You know, Ashley was feeling pretty smug and was taking this I told you so attitude about Diane. And now she's going to find out that Jack lied to her, and Tracy and Ashley in particular will not like it. And I expect something of a tantrum from Ashley that Diane and Jack are going to have to face and deal with over turkey and dressing. Then over at Nate Hastings' place, it seems like he has invited Amy Lewis to stay with him. Remember, she's kind of broke and he is taking pity on her, but she is worried that her presence is putting pressure on Nate about this whole issue of him finding his half-brother Damian, you know, the one who doesn't know that Nate exists, doesn't know that Nate Sr. is really his dad, and doesn't know that his mom, Amy, is supposedly dying. So Nate very nicely assures Amy that it hasn't affected his decision, you know, or his decision-making process. And Amy really, really wants to know if Nate has decided to help her find Damian and if he's willing to meet his brother. Remember, Amy claims that she's dying of cancer and time is almost up for her. But Nate is very skeptical about that point, if you recall, because he offered to get her into a clinical trial and she refused. Now, obviously, Nate's going to agree to find his brother Damian Damian, or else they wouldn't even have gone down this route of bringing Amy back and recasting her with a really good actress. So we'll see, But the big news in these spoilers I have is about the Newmans. There is a motley crew of them gathered at the new ranch house, and who is there is almost as interesting as who is not there. Sharon definitely does not get an invite. She is persona non grata. Victor is very, very concerned that Nick is getting pulled back into Sharon's drama, especially now that she has confessed to murdering Heather and, the framing and all of this. So Nick is there, stag, all by himself, not looking too happy. Phyllis should be out of the hospital next week. And of course, she's very angry that Chance did not listen now that Sharon has been outed as the killer. And of course, Phyllis thinks that Sharon also tried to kill her. And those texts on Phyllis's phone from Sharon also make it look worse. And of course, when she's asked about them, Sharon's not going to recall sending them. But that's kind of a recurring statement from her with the blackouts and the hallucinations. So that's not necessarily very convincing. I also didn't see Faith or Connor or, Victoria's younger kids in the photos with the older Newmans, but I suspect they're off seeing the horses or something, as part of the spoiler I'm about to give you is going on. So as this week we're in right now ends on Friday, Victor tells Nick and Adam that he was able to get Chancellor for Nikki, and it looks like she is going to tell the rest of the assembled family that when they count their blessings on Thanksgiving Day, that's one of them. But another important thing to note is that Chelsea is there on Turkey Day with Adam at the Newmans. So that's another reason I suspect the kids are hanging out somewhere nearby. And remember, Victor's been trying to play matchmaker for Adam and Chelsea, but I bet Adam's mind is on Sally next week, because on this Friday's episode this week, she and Billy finally hit the sheets, and then they come downstairs to the GCAC dining room to fuel up for more fun. And Adam spots them coming down, looking all post-coital passionate, and they're making out, and he just knows what happened. And seeing Billy with his hands and his lips on Sally is going to have Adam going postal, and I'm here for it. It's called karma. So Nikki and Victor are up in front of the gathered family. Everybody's got what I hope is non-alcoholic champagne for a toast, since Nikki is newly sober. Victoria and Cole are there with their daughter Claire, so she's not with Kyle for the holiday meal. Nick is sitting alone and looking grumpy, and Chelsea is with Adam, but they are not sitting close to each other. There's a full sofa cushion between them. Not exactly cozy. Nikki tells everybody that she and Victor are happy to share the day with them and talks about family that they both love deeply, says she couldn't be more grateful for the blessings, which is pretty funny because we know Nikki does not love Adam one bit, nor does she care much for Chelsea. And it's pretty new that Victor is tolerating Chelsea, but that's what Josh Griffith is writing these days. Nick's pouting, no doubt, because Victor doesn't want Sharon around, much less in the newly rebuilt house after she burned down the old one and is now accused of murder. Nick's salty because Victor reminds him on Friday that Adam and Sharon once had a close connection. Adam brought up that he and Sharon both have a darkness in them that used to connect them, and that prompted a little tantrum in Nick. So he's being Mr. Pouty Pants on Thanksgiving and will probably be chomping at the bit to get back to check on Sharon. And I'm assuming Summer is choosing to be with Phyllis, Daniel, and Lucy rather than anywhere near where Sharon might be after she killed Heather, framed Daniel, and then tried to kill her mom, Phyllis, even though we all know that most of that is the work of Ian and Jordan, except, of course, for the framing Daniel part. Sharon gets full credit for that. And it looks like a good week ahead, and we will have, of course, full weekly spoilers tomorrow.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.